Hi, I'm Eric Crump with the Homewood-Flossmoor Chronicle. We're here for an interview with Brady Chalmers, who's running for Homewood Mayor in the April 1st election. This is part of our Meet the Candidates video interview series, and we're going to ask Brady to tell us a little bit about why he's running for office and what he thinks Homewood needs in the coming 4 years. So, Brady, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Let me turn it over to you and tell us why you decided to challenge a long incumbent mayor.
Good morning, Eric. Thank you for having me. And I think that question is also part of the answer. First and foremost, my name is Brady Chalmers. I'm a Homewood resident. Shout out to Hillview neighbors. My family is from the area. My family actually desegregated Country Club Hills. We were the first black family on 169th Street. That was my grandmother. That was my father. That's one of the two houses I grew up in between my mom and my dad. So we're natives, and we've seen this area through the generations. And so is Mayor Hofeld. One of the reasons I'm running is because I believe it's time for a new generation of leadership. I think that the current mayor is not someone I'm running against, and I tell everybody that I'm running for mayor of Homewood. I'd like to paint a vision of what tomorrow could look like. And then I would challenge, my opponent to paint his own vision of what tomorrow looks like and let the voters decide. I have kids in the public schools here. I have a third grader who goes to Winston Churchill. And so for me, investing in her future and my 3-year-old's future, who will be a Willow Wildcat soon, that's paramount. Right now we're doing things like using TIF districts to give the public money to corporations, and that money comes from our public schools. Well, if you've read our state's school report card, you will see that our schools are suffering. Our budget and how we allocate funds is not just a municipal decision. It's also a moral decision. And I believe that it is immoral to take money away from our most precious resource, which is our children. And I believe that good public schools are why people move to Homewood. It's why I moved to Homewood. We saw what was happening in other districts, and we said, you know what? We've heard good things. And Homewood is pretty good, but it could be better. And I think that that's the general sentiment of folks who live in Homewood. They want a mayor that listens, right? I think there's a level of responsiveness and collaboration that a Chalmers administration will bring. I believe in ground-up organizing. I don't want to rule by fiat. I don't think that's an effective leadership style in 2025. It may have worked a generation ago, but I think that people now, we are an educated populace. We are an active populace. We understand our needs and desires. We know how to articulate them. And I think that folks are looking for a partner in government, not someone to be their, father figure, kind of, being the patriarch of the town. They're looking for someone who knows and has experience in helping manage things and making them better. And that's what my background is.
That's I'm glad you mentioned the responsiveness and collaboration. It's an issue that all local governments wrestle with. How do we include people? Well, sometimes they wrestle with them. Sometimes they don't.
Yeah, sometimes they don't wrestle at all, right?
I think that is a question that Homewood leaders have considered and wrestled with. But there's specific ways you can accomplish that. I wonder if you could talk about what would look different if you were mayor in terms of how the village government and the community interact and collaborate.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think we would have an adversarial relationship. And I've heard that some folks have experienced that. I don't think that would be their experience with me. I will keep some of the things that the current administration does, like Saturday office hours. I think those are good. But guess what? I think that there should always be office hours. I don't think that you should have to wait until Saturday to speak to your leadership. In fact, Saturday is oftentimes the only day that families have to get things done. And so, to limit the time that you're willing to speak to the public to 1 day a week, I think doesn't serve the community the way that I want to, right? And so I believe in having regular town halls. I believe in not just village meetings, but also just being an active presence. The mayor should be going to small businesses regularly. The mayor should be checking in with people regularly. There are village groups. There are the Green Drinks folks, and those are activities that are not necessarily coordinated by the mayor's office, but they are activities that would benefit from the mayor's presence, and it would allow the community to know that the mayor is someone willing to meet them where they're at, and not simply expect them to come, see the Wizard of Oz. I don't think you should have to walk a yellow brick road in order to petition government. I think it's your constitutional right. I think that I should be willing to come to you. So one of the things now that I'm doing on my campaign even, and that I will continue to do as mayor, is I'm actually calling residents. I have a call sheet, and I'm starting with our senior citizens because I feel like those folks are often left behind, and they're the last folks that people think about. And I'm literally calling through. And I'm saying, hey, my name is Brady Chalmers. I'd like to meet you. I want to be your mayor. But the reason I'm calling is because I believe you have a voice, and I believe that it should be heard. And so I'm such an interactive person that I won't be difficult to find because I'm seeking out the community. And I don't know if I can't speak to the current mayor's practice, but you'll hear that we've been getting calls from this Brady guy, and that's not going to change. I'm a mayor that'll look for you. You won't always have to come find me.
Excellent. You mentioned that in terms of economic development, that is one thing that the community pays a lot of attention to, and when projects come down the road, that is the one time when we can count on people showing up to meetings and talking. So they're very engaged with that. The TIF, you mentioned TIFs.
Yeah.
And that is one of the main tools that Homewood uses. The argument, which is that we've got low tax neighbors, and we have to use that kind of tool to compete. But it does have a consequence, for school funding. Are there other ways you think that we could continue to attract good businesses?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Without depending on that tool.
Yes, in fact, yes. I wouldn't be saying sweep the TIF districts if I believed that we couldn't grow without them. Not a single person moved to Homewood for the TIFs. Not a single person. If you ask any resident who has moved to Homewood in the last 10 years why they moved to Homewood, and you ask them to list every single reason, large and small, not a single one of them would say in the TIF districts. No, you grow by investing. You make this place a place that people want to come. The median income for the average family at Homewood is $100,000 per household. We're talking about folks who are doing better than the average bear. Okay? They chose this place, and it had nothing to do with tax increment financing. It had everything to do with this being a community that they felt was good to raise their kids in, a community that they could live in, a community that they could retire in, that had accessibility to high-quality jobs. The folks who are investing in Homewood with their human capital are here because they want to be here. The businesses that will invest in Homewood because the people with the money are in Homewood. There is absolutely no reason that folks from Homewood have to drive to Tinley Park or Orland Park to have basic things. This is egregious, and it shows a short-sightedness, and it actually shows a lack of belief in the community in Homewood to attract businesses on its merits. We should not have to bribe capital, because all we're doing is taking away money from our schools. And so what happens when you give this money to one of the largest corporations in the history of humanity, like Walmart, right? They open a superstore that no one asked for a few miles away from their next superstore, and then they see what everybody knew: this isn't going to make money, and then they leave, and now you have blight, taxpayer-funded blight, and there's no solution. If you were to ask the mayor, what are you going to do with that lot? He would say, I don't know, it's a private lot. Well, you should have known that before you handed out taxpayer dollar to a multi-billion-dollar corporation. This is the problem. You want to talk about the unintended consequences. Right now, for that lot, I've been talking to small business owners from not just in Homewood, but from all around about what can we do. And someone said, oh, there's a lack of creativity because what you really need, especially with all of these cars that are coming, is we need an EV charging park. And we need to turn this big block of concrete into some green space that is mixed use where folks can charge EVs. If you're going to have all this parking space and you're not going to have any cars in it because there's not a Walmart there, well, at least let it be a place where folks who have electric cars can safely charge their cars. And why don't we build out green space around it so that our Halsted commercial strip isn't this concrete jungle? It's a bit more reflective of the rest of our, tree-soaked community. And that was just a single idea that I got from a single business owner that is willing to invest in that spot. And I was like, wow, if one person could come to me with this, where's the plan? Where's the plan? Well, the plan is give the money to the corporations and hope they treat us right, and that has never worked, and it won't start today.
I want to make one quick clarification that the Walmart, a lot of people assume the Walmart was attracted by a TIF district. They didn't actually have a TIF district in place there when Walmart moved. But your other points, you're right. The corporation was there 7 years, and then they left.
And then they left. And then they left.
We've got this big building that
we have
we
this
need to
massive
redevelop.
lot, right? And not only do we have to redevelop it, Walmart still owns the lease.
Yeah.
And the landlord, well, they're still getting rent. So, and Walmart, the tax write-off on the lease of giving us blight is more valuable to Walmart than it is to, us, right, in their mind, right, than to operate a store.
Yeah.
And so not only do we have to find a partner that can buy Walmart out of a lease, and Walmart wants to sell, but we also have to find a partner that the landlord is also willing to rent to that is reliable as a Walmart check. And if you weren't thinking about that before you proposed this project, then you weren't thinking it through. And if you had sat down and if there had been a real public process and real public input, right, and real public comments, somebody would have said, hey, what if they leave? Isn't there a big Walmart right there off of 169th? Like, isn't that the one everybody goes to? Isn't it relatively new and it's a super Walmart? And doesn't it have a huge development around it with a movie theater and lots of businesses? Isn't that an economic anchor for this region already? Why would that work again right here? Well, it didn't. It didn't. And that's the type of development that we need less of when we have an underdeveloped downtown, when we have a small business community that is desperate for the type of support that we give the big boxes.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I hear that from people, from business owners sometimes, that they do feel like the village's attention goes more to recruitment than to support for the small businesses,
Yes.
although the village does have programs that help the small villages. But are there other things that could be done that would help small businesses thrive that we're not doing?
Well, they already have TIF districts, right? Like, why not hand them to some mom and pops as opposed to publicly traded corporation? Like if you're gonna do it, at least do it in a way that directly impacts and benefits the people that live here, because none of these publicly traded corporations have any particularly loyalty to Homewood. They're loyal to their balance sheets. So if anything changes on their balance sheets, they'll simply pull out. Whereas the people who live in the area, who are raising families in the area, who own homes in the area, they're not pulling out. They're invested, right? And they want more. And it's difficult for them when they go downtown. There's a lack of parking, right? You're talking about building a new mid-high-rise development, right? But there's no parking plan. Are you going to, someone like me would say, hey, look, we don't have to emulate everything from Chicago, but they do have an ordinance that says when you want to throw something up, you have to consider where people are going to park. And if we're going to develop downtown, we have to build up because we're landlocked, we can't build out, then these developments parking should be part of it. They should have to have public parking at a level or 2 levels or 3 levels because, one, that's the way that we grow. Verticality will be our future strength. And 2, it's with growth in mind so that people actually have somewhere to put their cars. But more importantly than somewhere to put their cars, they have to put their bodies after they get there, right? And so this street needs to be redeveloped in a way that small business communities feel like the mayor is actually looking out for them. How often is the mayor himself visiting these businesses? How often is the mayor himself promoting these businesses publicly and on social media? How often is the mayor going to the county and the state and the federal government saying, take care of my people, they have bright ideas and we want to invest in them? And I think that if that were happening, folks would know about it. I know that as 5th District Chief of Staff, we never got any calls from Mayor Hofeld's office about taking county resources to improve Homewood. And we thought that was curious because, we have a multi-billion-dollar budget. We had all of the American Rescue Act plan funds. There are billions of dollars there. And many of our other municipalities had no problem saying, hey, my people need this, because they took a holistic approach. Whereas I think that we're a part of a whole, right? It's one idea to say, hey, we're Homewood and we don't care about anything else but us. But that isn't even true inside of Homewood. Our park district is the Homewood-Flossmoor Park District. Our school district, our high school is the Homewood-Flossmoor High School, right? Like, we are referred to in tandem with our neighbors. And so we have to build a neighborly community where we are taking a regional approach and saying, hey, look, we need this as a group, and I won't go alone if I don't have to. We should go together because the roads that we drive need to be paved, because the folks that are flying down 187th Street need to be pulled over, right? Like, we need to prioritize our needs, and they don't necessarily stop at our borders. And so if you assume that the only thing that matters is us, well, then you wouldn't even have a plan for the casino because half of that's in East Hazelcrest, right? And so it's just, I think, this short-sighted me-ism. And I don't think that that's effective leadership, right? It's not the Chicago Homewood Chamber of Commerce. It's the Southland Chamber of Commerce. We are a region, whether any particular mayor wants it to be so or not. And the region has issues. And the stronger we are together, the further we can go. There's an African proverb, and we're in Black History Month, so I would be remiss if I didn't give some game, that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's my pitch to Homewood. We can go together. You don't have to go alone. I've never been alone in my entire career. I have always had people that I can count on, people that I could trust, who understood that if we wanted to accomplish things greater than ourselves, then we needed to work together. I don't think that I, as mayor, would be the Lord of Homewood. I would be its chosen representative to advocate for the things that the people here already demand. That's it. I think that we're just looking for an advocate. Everybody here has demonstrated an ability to take care of themselves. You don't end up in Homewood on accident. You were probably doing something right.
Yeah. And one of the things you're doing right, perhaps, is working with a community of people that's actually something that kind of leads me to another question I've been asking everyone, which is, we don't often think about the relationship between little village government and the federal government, except, we get grants sometimes, et cetera. But the federal government's going through some things right now.
Yeah.
And it's created a lot of uncertainty and a certain amount of threat to established programs and funding and everything. And no one really knows right now how things are going to land or play out. But a lot of people are thinking, like, how does our community weather this kind of these times, basically, where things are thrown into doubt, some chaos, things may change pretty dramatically. What can a village do to help the community get through times like that, do you think?
Yeah, that is an awesome question. And so this is great because I love the opportunity to give credit to other people, because politicians are very good at taking credit for themselves, but they are not so good at spreading credit where credit is due. And I want to give credit to our governor, J.B. Pritzker, because he has been a firewall against the, I will say it and I will say it plainly, fascist in Washington, D.C., and they are fascist. They are anti-democratic forces. They are coming for your money. And so the beautiful thing about the United States of America, and one of the things that I love about having a civics background, is federalization, right? We, in the 10th Amendment, give the states a tremendous amount of ability to both take care of ourselves and ignore things we don't like out of Washington. Now, what I can't say is that things aren't going to get difficult, because clearly President Musk and Vice President Trump have made a decision that Illinois is going to be in their crosshairs. However, Illinois is also, do you recognize Chicago alone has the economic impact of Switzerland? We are one of the wealthiest countries. If Illinois were a country, we're one of the wealthiest countries in the world, right? We have a lot of what we need here. We really do. And I have long relationships with both the state and the county government. In fact, I worked on Governor Pritzker's inaugural campaign. I was part of the leadership team. I was his deputy digital director. I can pick up the phone and I can call these folks. Same thing with my years at Cook County, right? I can pick up the phone and call the county president directly. I can call the governor's office directly and say, hey, our folks are looking for a plan, and we love your leadership. We're grateful to it, but we need a little help, right? And we need not just help from you, but also we need to make sure that we're all marching to the same drum, so that when the times get tough, we know exactly what we can do for our people. We shore that up together, and then we fill in the gaps where we can. And fortunately, it looks like we'll be having a little bit of extra revenue from this casino development, and that might be a bit of rainy day money. We'll see, because we don't know what the exact dollars are going to be. But we're in a unique position where we were already operating tax positive, and we have more money coming in, and so that will allow us to weather things that other communities might not be able to. But that, on top of having strong relationships with our county and state partners, is how Homewood specifically gets through the storm. We're not going to do it alone. And that is my driving point, is we are not going to do this alone. Isolationism will not save us. Working with our community, becoming stronger together, that is how we get through this. Us supporting each other is how we get through this. Not pointing our fingers at our neighbors and saying, I don't like you, you're different, your political views are a little different, you may have voted a little different. That is not important right now. What is important right now is how we treat each other. That let us not fight yesterday's battles tomorrow, because everybody is going to be impacted by these decisions. And it doesn't matter what your partisan affiliation is. It doesn't matter what your religious affiliation is. If you're on Medicare, if you're on Social Security, if you're funded by NIH, if you're funded by USAID, if you're funded by the VA, you will be impacted. And that is to say nothing of the racist assault on Black history that is happening from Washington. These folks, and we are a Black majority town. And so regardless of your politics, you have to understand that the way that we move forward is together, because alone Washington would isolate us. But fortunately, that is not the situation that Illinois is in. And under a Chalmers administration, that will not be the situation that Homewood is in.
All right, great. Thank you, Brady. I appreciate your addressing the issues facing Homewood and your approach, your fresh approach. I want to let you have the last word, and we've covered a few issues: economic development, the tools you need, your approach to a more regional and collaborative relationship with our neighbors. But are there things that we haven't talked about yet that you think the voters need to hear from you before April 1st?
If I had to tell the voters anything, it's something I already said earlier. Mm-hmm. You have a voice. Politicians are supposed to work for you, period. They take your money. You pay their salary. You pay for their home renovations and their shopping trips and the cars that they have. Every single thing that they do is because you allow them to do it. If you want a better politic, pick a better politician and then treat them like they work for you. Do not allow any politician, whether it's this administration, my administration, any administration, to lord over you. Our liberty is our greatest treasure. Our liberty is our greatest treasure. Keep us accountable. I believe that FDR once said, I agree with you. You're right. Now make me do it. That should be your posture towards anybody who wants to lead you. Happy adversary. You don't trust any politician, including me, because you trust you to keep us honest. And trust that I trust you too, which is why that will be my last word.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.